Before the 1850s, many of the Appalachians were wild and uncharted. The hills were dotted with outcrops of small towns and farms, blended and connected by dirt roads made by past residents that used hunting trails and game paths to guide them. However, in the late 1780s, the state of Virginia ordered a complete survey of the northwestern state and map out possible routes for future roads to connect these communities and the people they labeled Knappahans, a label they used to describe the people along the major river areas. Around the year 1795, a group of surveyors, known as the Henry Jackson Surveying Party, entered the County Land Permits Office in Webster County. Here, this fresh group of Virginians with some experience with the outdoors needed a guide and cook to help them survey a piece of land in an area now called Holly River. Imagine a completely dense forest, tree-covered hills packed with rock and moss, an abundance of wildflowers, berry bushes, and holly thickets of thorns making travel nearly impossible. And all of this grown on steep hillsides, along with rabbit, deer, and squirrel food sources to hunt for. Bears were not uncommon to see and posed a big threat. Unless a person knew of the mountain region and could navigate in such wild country, it was foolish to go without a guide. One such name came up in the surveyor's office. His name was William Strange. Now, William lived in the area with his wife and children. Now in his 40s, he grew up in the mountains, hunted, gathered, and farmed the land. But he was also good at guiding folks into the vast thickness of wilderness. This tall, dark-haired, Scots-Irish fellow came into the office quiet and unconcerned. He was, by all accounts, the type that spoke only if needed in a conversation. He basically told people if you don't have anything better to say, then keep quiet. He was hired on the spot. They set off in late August, the best time when the leaves were falling and the hillsides were easy to navigate. They spent a month on trails, mapping out land areas, mapping out mountain ranges and clear-cut paths made by loggers and farmers. William, along with his hound dog, would scout ahead for fresh game, cook it up that evening, and pack the rest for the trip to cook for the group along the way. The group covered a vast portion of the area and were able to map out year-round creeks and rivers, finding mountain springs that fed into these waters. For the survey men, all seemed to be well. But the weeks grew colder, and in the sky, William saw signs of an early snowfall. Without finding a better way back, William knew the winter snow would trap the men in unfamiliar territory. He told the men he would scout ahead for a better river route back to Webster Springs. With his dog beside him, both traversed into the wilderness and were not seen again. What William didn't realize is that an early spring thaw that year had emptied lots of water into narrow and thin creek beds, creating new river runoffs in the area. Dry, seasonal riverbeds that had small streams became late-blooming rivers that would last until late fall and into winter. William, following the hillside paths, followed the river, sound believing he knew his location. He did not return. After a few days, the men at the camp had searched for William along the area of Holly River, which they thought he would navigate back to the camp. As night fell, the men returned to camp and started off the next morning. They searched the river valley area, alongside the hills and into thickets. But William could not be seen, nor his dog. After a week, the men returned to Webster Springs and reported the incident. 40 years later, a small group of hunters were hunting an area of a dry creek bed known as Turkey Creek in Clay County when they saw something up on the hillside that got their attention. Upon arriving, it was reported that the human bones they discovered were leaning up against a tree. Some of the bones were suspected of being broken, but not concluded at the time. The bones of a dog lay beside the human remains. Upon his lap lay a rifle and a shot bag. But above the body, carved into the tree, were the words, "Strange is my name, and strange is this ground, and strange it is that I cannot be found." Thus, the legend of William Strange became part of West Virginia folklore. His remains were returned to the families and were buried in a family plot. The creek bed area, known as Turkey Creek, was renamed Strange Creek and is now an unincorporated town with a small population that live along the river. But the legend of William Strange and his eerie, yet poetic, words still resonate with the locals and is part of the West Virginia folklore.